You're listening to Honestly Aging by Friends Life Care VigR, a podcast where we explore what it's like getting older, the peaks, the valleys, and everything in between. In this season of Honestly Aging by Friends Life Care VigR, we're covering topics related to solo aging. I'm your host, Cheryl Proska. Let's grow old together. On today's episode, I'm joined by Kathy Rusch, a medical advocate for the Women's Center of Montgomery County. In this role, Kathy plans, executes, tracks, and monitors outreach on domestic violence services and training. Prior to this position, Kathy spent many years as the district office manager for the PA House of Republican Caucus. In addition, Kathy has experience in grant writing, fundraising, real estate, and journalism. She also holds an associate's degree from Southern New Hampshire University. Kathy, welcome and thank you for being here. How are you today?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me today.
Of course. So, Kathy, you're joining me to discuss older adults and bullying. We will start by defining this phenomenon, then dive into its contributing factors, impact, way to combat it, and more. To get us started, can you share your understanding of bullying among older adults and how it might differ from bullying in the younger populations?
Actually, there's a lot of similarity between bullying in our seniors and bullying in our younger generations. And typically the component that is the same, it's a sense of gaining control of your environment. So, for example, if I'm a senior and I'm new to a community, I want to come in and I'll want to get to know people, but there may be a group already there who rules the school or rules the, the community. And you have to know how to communicate. And hopefully you're in an environment where you can talk to someone about the situation that you're in. If you've got someone who is isolating you, won't let you join their table at lunch, won't let you be a part of their group at bingo, won't let you sit next to them when it's movie night with a group of people. Those types of issues are bullying, and imagine those are the same types of activities that we see in, middle school and in the younger grades. And it truly is all about control, an individual trying to control the world that's around them, and a lack of empathy for the person that they're doing it to.
So you mentioned some aspects of this, but I'm wondering, are there additional forms of some common types of bullying among older adults that they might experience?
Well, typically, men and women bully in different ways. Women will group together. I hate to use the term mean girl groups, but we all remember from our days in the past, there was always that one group of girls. And that continues on into senior communities and senior activity centers. So for women, it's more verbal, it's more gossipy, talking poorly about someone, spreading rumors about them, not letting them join in, sit with you at lunch. Men tend to be more aggressive, so there's more yelling there. And bullying untouched or uncorrected, unchecked, can become physical. So it's very important to, get on that and try to change things for the community, change things for your center. You want to be able to talk about it. You want to be able to, bring it into the light is my belief. And the more that you talk about it, the more you can see those differences.
And it sounds like you're also saying it would be important to be proactive and get ahead of it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I know we'll get into and talk a lot about that. But when you're dealing with seniors, you're dealing with different capacity levels as well. You'll have
Yeah.
some seniors that are fully cognizant of everything in their surroundings. But you'll also have some seniors that are coming into these communities or into these centers or, into any basic situation where their capacity is somewhat limited. So they have trouble remembering things. They have trouble remembering that maybe they can't remember that they met this person yesterday. Maybe they can't remember what someone said to them, and that person feels that what they shared was so very important. But if this person has trouble with their memory, they don't remember that, and that can create friction and strife. So if you're in a community or if you're working within one of these senior activity centers, being cognizant, that's a great word, of what's happening around you as the person who is responsible for these individuals. Watch what's happening. Be open to those comments. This person, oh, they don't like me. I don't want to go over there. They don't like me.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a telltale sign. And let's ask the question, why do you think they don't like you? What happened that makes you think that you're not welcome or not wanted?
So we're talking about how bullying might happen in groups or when we're together. I'm also wondering, how can social isolation and loneliness contribute to bullying among older adults?
Social isolation leads to a more available victim because isolation can help breed and create depression. When you don't have
Mm.
someone to talk to on a continuous basis, someone that, well, in the case of individuals who have lost their loved ones, their significant others. So, you already have a situation where the person is feeling low and dealing with depression. And then you have a situation where they might go into one of these places as a family member. I would want, let's say, my father to go to a senior activity center during the day where he can work with other people, interact with people his age, have conversations that are age related, have conversations about things that are way before my time. That's what most people want when they're trying to find locations for their families to live in or locations for their loved ones to go to during the day so they have some activities. And if you're an individual, a senior who has lost that special someone or has been isolated, of course you've got some depression, of course you've got sadness, of course you lose some of those conversation skills. Those things we lose as we get older if we don't continue to practice them. And so if you are going into a community, an activity center, a group, and you're already feeling a little down, you're not sure of who you are, you're not sure what your position is in this location, it can make an individual a target for a bully because bullies are about control. Bullies want to make sure that their world, their location, whether it's the lunchroom, whether it's the dining room, whether it's where we watch a movie, on Thursday nights, the whole community gets together and watch a movie. Bullies will try to control those environments, make it their own. And I think we can all look back on our younger years, typically middle school, and we can see how we either watched, were affected by, and in some cases, some of us were those bullies. And as we grew older, we learned empathy. We learned what it is to feel for someone else, but not everybody learns that. So a person who's isolated, they're more of a target. And I do believe that people that are coming into these types of locations from being in an isolated situation should have a little bit more support, whether it's just somebody watching over, keeping an eye, seeing how they're integrating, see how they're communicating with other people. And then I truly believe that there need to be more honest and open conversations about how people feel and how they're interacting with others. Because not just bullies, but as seniors, they have so much in their history, so much that they know about, that I think they could help solve the very problem that they're dealing with. So I do believe that it's important to have those communications on an ongoing basis.
So, building on what you're talking about, are there other specific risk factors that make certain older adults more susceptible to being bullied?
Well, sure. The person that wants to get along, the person that has that, um, I'm trying to come up with the right word, that glow, that light about them that brings other people to them. We've all met people that are just a bright light of, bright sunshiny beam. And you think, I want to talk to that person. I want to be around that person. That person makes me feel good. That can make a bully feel somewhat threatened, because it's the bully's goal, right, to control the environment, control the people. And so if you've got a person who is like that, who is genuinely good in their heart, but don't have the ability to put up barriers or um, boundaries to not allow people to cause them pain, and are filled with empathy, they will look at a bully and say to themselves, I don't know what I did to you. I don't know why you don't like me. And then that brings issues with self-esteem, even as a senior. It brings issues of sadness, and it brings more isolation to the person that's already isolated.
Yeah, that desire to have everybody like you.
Yeah,
It's really an unachievable goal. It's never going to happen.
correct, correct. And some of us learn it much later in life. Some of us learn it earlier, but empathy is key. And when you've got people that are just pure empathy, and they don't have those barriers or those, roadblocks up to protect themselves, they are going to be a target, because people are going to want to
Yeah.
go to them. And then the bully feels that they're losing control because of a new person with all these wonderful, unchecked, lovely things about them.
Yeah. So, how does technology and the digital world play a role in bullying among older adults?
I guess the same way that it affects younger people as well. My father, huge Facebook guy, could not get him onto Instagram. The way that Twitter changed to X would have made him crazy. And my father was a computer programmer in the 60s, so long before computers, so he came up, and developed the technological things that all of us enjoy now. But so he was on Facebook, and I can tell just a little story. And I remember him talking to me. There was a ham radio group that he belonged to. And he said, I felt really bad for this guy. He asked a question, and he wanted to know, it was something about the height of an antenna and the shape of the earth, because everything's line of sight when you're doing ham radio. So he was talking about that, and the gentleman had asked a question in a Facebook group. My father is 86, and the people in the group are anywhere from 65 and up. So they're all they're all seniors. And this person came at this individual who asked this question like they were the dumbest person on the earth. How could you ask this question? How'd you get your ham lice? It's the same thing. It's just like our younger generations. It's just like our generation. When you sit behind a screen and you're at a keyboard and you don't have to look at the individual's face as you're saying, these hurtful, demeaning, condescending words, you don't have empathy. And I use that word a lot. You don't have empathy for the person that you're speaking to. And if you don't have empathy for the person you're speaking to, then everything that's coming out of your mouth or your fingertips onto the screen is just not nice. I mean, I'm kind of chuckling. I came up, I was in school in the 70s and the early 80s, and it was just be nice. Let's be nice. And you don't really hear that so much anymore. People are behind their keyboards and they can say anything they want and do anything they want with no repercussions. And I think that's really important. So seniors that are on technology, I think they face the same kind of situations. You get links that come to you about, a story, or, somebody will send a link about a newspaper article that they read in their community. If you've never been on a message board and saw some of the nasty things people say to you, if you've got a person who is gentle and kind, we talked about this before, gentle and kind, they're just going to keep trying to communicate that. I have yet to hear of, and I'm not saying it's not out there, but I have yet to hear of or talk with an organization about true bullying in a community over the internet. Mm-hmm. So, for example, different Facebook groups are out there for neighborhoods, places that you work. So people that work together, live in the same area, townships, counties, they have these groups and people can talk and communicate. I have to wonder if our senior communities and the senior activity centers have those same. This is really smart. I'm going to go take a look for that. Thank you for that question. If they have the same type of Facebook groups that somebody within those organizations should be monitoring, because I think that would show at least as a starting point where people are communicating less pleasantly than they should with their
right. Having in a sense an advocate like you and your team does, looking over, because the message boards that you're speaking about, I've seen them go both ways. I've seen them help build community, and I've seen them be very polarizing. And unfortunately, just like you're saying, the situation that your dad observed, where just attacking someone for simply asking a question.
Right. For example, this is on topic, but I belong to a group. I'm fascinated by people who raise chickens, just fascinated by them. So there's this group, Backyard Chickens. And I had this older woman, and she talked about it, that she had retired 10 years ago. So I'm guessing she's at about 75. And she wanted to get chickens, but didn't know, how do you find out if it's a rooster? Because roosters apparently are bad when you have chickens in your backyard. I think because they cock-a-doodle-doo and wake everybody up at 5, and that makes communities unhappy. So the amount of ridicule that was put on this woman's shoulders, like, well, wait till it crows. Well, lift them up, look underneath. Well, if it lays an egg, it's a hen. Like, different things like that. I just think as a society, we're just not very nice to each other, especially online. I think we see a lot that would be really nice to see go away, or, change a little.
Yeah, I agree. So what are some of the potential physical and psychological impacts of bullying on the health and the well-being of older adults?
Well, I can tell you, an older adult who is being bullied will have anxiety. They could have anxiety, heightened anxiety, because a lot of times as you're aging, whether you're aging at home, aging in a community, you have anxiety over what's to come. You have anxiety over accomplishing all the things that you want to accomplish. So these are normal everyday anxieties. You have anxiety over where your family is, where your children are. You have anxiety that you're living life without your partner now, for some. And the goal is to learn to manage those anxieties, because we all have anxieties as we live, and we learn to understand them. Some people are driven by that feeling of anxiousness. But if you're in a situation where you already have anxiety over these unknown things, and then you come into a community or a location or a group and you're being bullied, that anxiety can definitely skyrocket. And then that can lead to severe depression. People stop eating, people will stop talking, people will stop coming out. And then you also have, the potential, once you isolate, to see our seniors have more cognitive decline. We know, and it's proven, the more interaction our seniors have with other people, young, middle-aged, seniors, you're going to have better cognitive abilities. So if you're isolated and you feel it's just better if I stay home today, I just don't want to go and deal with that, it can lead to cognitive decline. And one of the reports that I read in the AARP is that sometimes this psychological bullying can lead to physical bullying, pushing someone, pushing them out of the way, stepping in front of them, knocking someone over to ensure that you're getting their attention. And those things can be considered assault. And that's why that's why it's important. I mean, yes, bullying itself is a terrible thing. I've known that from the time I was coming up in middle school. And I know that from raising children. And I know that from working with seniors. And I hope that I'm going to be better prepared for that once I end up in that location. But the physical threats to our seniors are anything from being physically assaulted to losing your cognitive abilities and losing your drive to keep going. That's what we see from bullying.
Would you prefer to age independently in your own home or live in a nursing facility? I know what I'd rather do. Friends Life Care membership offers just that. Plan today for a future lived at home with vitality, independence, growth, and resilience while protecting your savings. Learn about your options at a free seminar or webinar. Register at friendslifecare.org/register or call 215-628-8964. Are there other signs or behaviors that family members, caregivers, healthcare professionals should watch out for to identify if an older adult is being bullied?
Yep. A lot of times you just need to have a conversation. Talk to them. How are things go? Hey, how are you? You were at the center on Tuesday. How did that go? And listen to what they're saying. Really listen. I understand, how busy. We're all such busy individuals. We're raising families, raising our parents, making sure they have everything that they need. And sometimes you feel like you're just running from one thing to the next. But what our seniors truly need is somebody just to listen to them, sit down and talk to them, really hear what they're saying. And in those conversations, whether you're a counselor in a community, whether you're a daughter, a son, a husband, a wife, to listen to what they're saying and hear them. How was the center on Tuesday? It was all right. We usually love going there. Why was it just all right? I don't want to talk about it. You try to find a way to get them to talk about it, because if they can tell you, for example, I don't like this person. Okay, tell me what you don't like about them. Well, I thought they were okay, but then they got weird. Okay, tell me how they got weird. You keep asking those questions so that you can get to the crux of it. You will get a lot of times, I'm not going there. They don't like me. Well, how about if we go to the movie room? We'll go watch it. Now, this Mary and her two friends are there. They don't like me. Okay, they don't like me it's the most simple statement a person can make, but that is truly a sign. What happened that makes you think they don't like you? And use that to kind of as a springboard. Okay, what's happening? And also, you'll also see people who self-isolate. All of a sudden, I don't want to go to the movies anymore. Well, if I'm a counselor and I just went through all those people, if I'm somebody who is, responsible for the care of a senior, I want to know why you won't leave the room. If it's not physical, why is it? So what you see is you'll hear people say a lot of times, they don't like me, I don't like them, they're mean to me, and take them at that face value. Or you'll see somebody, they won't leave their room. They'll ask to have food brought to them. Some individuals will have food shipped to them through Amazon, snacks. So they've got poor diet because they don't want to go down to dinner. They don't want to go down to lunch because they've been bullied. They've been made to feel that they're not welcome by bullies. So those are the things you really want to listen to what they're saying and watch. If they're self-isolating and you see acute depression where it wasn't there before, you want to dig for that reason.
So when we get in a situation where we have identified that an older adult is being bullied, what strategies or interventions can be effective in addressing the bullying?
I think this is something we've worked on for decades. From schools again on up. One of the things that I think is most important is open communications. So if you feel that you are being bullied, there has to be someone that you can go to. Someone that you can go to maybe explain the dynamic of where you're at, the dynamic of the people that you've just moved in with. There should be bullying language in the agreements. I think there needs to be something in writing that says, here's all the responsibilities you have, including your rent each month, especially in our senior communities. But you're also responsible for maintaining healthy relationships with your co-residents. You are all living here together. So there's language in those documents and that you're agreeing to it. So right up front, if somebody's moving in, because trust me, Mary, Joe, they know who they are. They know the personality type that they are. They'll know as they're moving in that kind of activity is not going to be tolerated. And here are the repercussions. And those repercussions could be, 3 strikes and you're out. I don't know, I can't speak for any community or a center, but there need to be true structured repercussions, because that is the strongest way to make it possible that a bully will learn, okay, if I do this, this is how it's going to affect me. But I also think it's really important to teach empathy, even in our senior communities. Sit down, have, the programs. We come out and we'll go to senior communities. We'll work with the people who are running those organizations. We'll come out and we'll talk to the individuals and we'll show them. We'll even do play acting to show this is what bullying is. And this is how bullying affects the people that you're living with. And then talking about what empathy is, reminding them, taking them back to a place in these conversations where they had empathy for someone else, to remind them, this is how you felt in this situation when you first came in. Isn't it important to not have somebody else feel that same way you did? And so in having those continuous conversations, having repercussions, having things laid out, I do believe there's a way to beat bullying, for lack of a better word, to end it. Because the truth is, when we're young and when we're children, and I'm not a psychologist, but I am a mother of 4 and I'm pretty old. So when you have bullying, at a younger age, we haven't had life experiences. There are no experiences that are going to help us learn that empathetic view. So when I'm 12, I don't know what it's like to lose a parent, hopefully. I don't know what it's like to lose a spouse. I don't know what it's like to lose a child. I don't know what it's like to lose a job. There's many life experiences that we have as we grow older that build our ability to empathize with another person, to sympathize with them, to know, oh, that's got to be terrible. What can I do to help make it better? And that may be a rose-colored glasses view of things, but I believe that once we become seniors, once we get to that older age, we have those life experiences that we can tap into, or have a professional who's able to help us tap into those experiences to help us remember the importance of having someone on your side, someone empathizing with you. And if that doesn't work, being told, look, Mary, you keep going with the Mean Girls group, and you guys aren't going to be allowed to watch a movie for 6 weeks, or, whatever. But there need to be repercussions, and there need to be conversations. And I believe the conversations are the strongest point to have, call them team leaders, having a group, a welcome committee. Okay, we got bullying here, so we're going to create a welcoming committee. We know that we have a bullying problem here. So we'll have a group of women, and we're going to ask some of the women who are part of this Mean Girls group, for lack of a better word, to be a part of it. Not to break it apart, but to make them understand and to see and give them an opportunity to greet and to bring new people in. And I just know, I truly believe that those things are going to help in those situations.
Yeah, everything you're saying is just demonstrating the importance of the community support, the oversight, being an advocate, and trying to get people to be more socially engaged. And again, trying to catch this early. If we see signs and symptoms that this type of environment is occurring, we have to start putting in some breaking points where I feel like I heard you say, bring in training or play acting, or try to have a welcome. I loved your suggestion of having a welcoming committee where you're trying to, in a sense, recalibrate the way that some people are interacting with one another.
And recalibrate the way they're introduced to the community. Because in the void of having a structure, I mean, it's our world. In the void of having a structure, when you move into a new community, you think, okay, it's just like living in a neighborhood, but it's not. There is a structure there. Who's been here the longest, who lives in the 3-bedroom, apartment, who lives in the 1-bedroom apartment. All of those things can come into play. So to have a welcoming committee, or having a group, we're just calling it a group, that says this is truly what we're about in our community here. This is our home. This is what we believe. This is what we practice. We believe that everybody's welcome. We believe that all people are equal. We have seen, and I have read about same-sex marriage individuals who have come to the communities, and you'll have some community members that don't, maybe culturally or philosophically or politically, don't agree with those, and they'll target those individuals. Well, again, that should go into that information at the beginning, because, well, to bully an individual or to harm them based on their sexual orientation, well, that's a crime. So it's important to make sure that this kind of information, this sort of language, is written in as people come into those communities. I do think that is key.
And it is important to bring up the LGBT plus community because through some training through Sage Care that Friends Life Care organization has taken, we have learned that sometimes if an individual who is part of the LGBT plus community enters a senior living facility, they feel that they can't exactly be themselves. And then they have to go and hide that part of them, which is such an important part of someone.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you bringing that into the conversation.
So imagine feeling like, to start, I need to hide that part of myself, which means you're not being your authentic self. So I have to hide this part of myself, and then finding out that there is a group of women or men that are going to target you for that, start rumors about that, make ill-informed comments, whatever they typically faced, they'll face that in a community unless it's clearly outlined that this is I hate to use this kind of term, but this is a place for no hate, and that's the truth. I mean, that type of mentality of a place where we're going to accept everyone, regardless of our differences, is the most important thing that we can do for each other. So our communities, our activity centers, I believe that they need to make sure that people know you can come here, but everybody is welcome here. And if you're not comfortable being here because of everybody being welcome here, well, then unfortunately, we'll have to work to find you another place. Make them the exception, not the rule.
And another cohort that comes to mind that may be more susceptible to bullying are individuals who are solo agers, people who may not have a spouse, a partner, children, loved ones they're close with. So I'm interested in getting your opinion on how might solo agers specifically be impacted by bullying.
Well, that's going to be the hard ones. They're the ones that don't have someone who can advocate for them. So our organizations need to ensure that reporting is not only welcome, but that it's encouraged. Same kind of information we talked about before. If you are an individual and you're isolated, you want to be able to speak out, to speak up to someone, and being able to report and say, hey, look, this is what's going on, and having a way to mediate that, I think would be helpful. And I think it would be healthy, but it is harder on the organizations. It is. And I recognize that if a single individual who doesn't have that support system at home, then the community and the center become their support system. And that is the goal of these communities and these centers, is for them to be a place where a senior can live and they can thrive and they can continue to grow.
What role, if any, does the healthcare sector play in addressing bullying and its consequences in the older populations?
Well, the Women's Center of Montgomery County, we reach out to all specialties. We reach out to family doctors. We reach out to healthcare facilities. I work out of Jefferson Lansdale Hospital. My counterpart works out of Jefferson Abington. Another coworker works out of Holy Redeemer. We are in as many hospitals as possible because bullying is a form of abuse. Abuse happens, and it happens at different levels. We have talked with physicians who have felt that they have a non-confused senior, and that's important, non-confused, direct, straight ahead. I've got a senior who is claiming that they're being hurt let's just say it's at home. Let's say they don't go to a community or a adult care facility. I have an individual who says that they are being harmed. Okay, how are they being harmed? Well, they won't tell me. They do want to talk to someone. Now, this is important. We can't call them the survivor, the victim of abuse, whether they're a senior, whether they are a victim of domestic abuse. They need to contact us. And that's really important because confidentiality is key. We do not cold call people. We're not going to call you and say, hey, we heard you're having this issue. That's empowerment. We want you to empower yourself and we want you to come to us. So the physicians are important because people will disclose things to their doctors that they may not disclose to anyone else because you have HIPAA regulations. You have doctor-patient confidentiality, the things that we've grown with in our lives. We know our doctor typically is a safe space. That is the person we can take anything to, and they will help us. So working with our physicians and the medical practices in whatever form they take, from urgent care to a doctor's office to a hospital, we work with them to show them, here are things that you and I are talking about. Here are things that you'll want to see. If you see this, you might want to recommend them calling us. And all we're going to do is talk to them about what's happening, talk about the resources that are available for them, talk about what level of advocacy they may need from us. So, for example, if you have an individual who is alone, truly, is alone and isolated, and they call me, I can tell you what I would do. The first thing I would do is have that conversation. Give them someone who is going to listen to them, even if it's tailor made around a story that everybody's heard 57 times. It doesn't matter. I'll listen to you 58 times. I will listen to you as many times as you want to tell that story, because sometimes just talking about it will empower an individual to stand up for themselves. We don't give instructions on how to handle those situations. We will talk with them about resources. So, for example, okay, so you're going to this location. Yes. Do you have a person there? Do you have a patient advocate? Do you have a group counselor? Do you have, and talk to them about that. Now, we identify that person. Then we talk to them about the kinds of things that they can say to that group counselor, that person who organizes, and help them construct what it is that they want to say to try to make their situation better. And it's done on their timetable. It's done on their timeline. And hopefully we can convince them to make that additional step. But the truth is, whether you are, 21 or 81, we want you to be empowered. We want you to stand up for yourself, and we'll stand there with you. We'll help in any capacity that is needed. So definitely the medical community plays a very important role. Very important.
And are there any legal or policy considerations that need to be taken into account when dealing with bullying among older adults?
I did take a quick look this morning. Because I worked for the House of Representatives for the Republican caucus for a very long time, one of the things that I typically do is I'll go searching for bills, because you get 4,000 bills introduced every year, every session, which is a 2-year period. And how many of them turn into bills? It's not a big number, because the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is a big place. So one of the things that I like to do is to go out and look. Have we ever looked at making bullying a part of the elder abuse statutes? And I think the issue, and again, this is just my perception, I think one of the issues that make it hard to make a policy change is, what is the definition of bullying? So I'm home, I stay at home, I'm aging at home. and I have I've ordered a service to bring my meals to me twice a week, and they'll come in and they'll put my stuff in my freezer and, what have you. If somebody comes into your home and they push you down or they make you take medication you're not ready to take, or take your medication, right there, those are assault, those are theft. There's laws that you can attach to those kinds of activities. But, and this happens, and it's sad, but it happens. People will come in and they will see a senior, and if, they'll just verbally say horrific things to them, verbally harass them, verbally humiliate them. And there is no recourse to that unless you fire them. So, okay, so this person comes in and they're mean to me. If you don't have that empowerment inside of you to call, the food service and say, hey, Glenn was here and he just said X, Y, and Z to me, and I don't ever want him coming back into my house, then that same person will continue to repeat that cycle over and over again. So that's kind of the difference. There are laws to protect our seniors against physical assault. There are laws to protect all of us against theft. Bullying, I think, is a lot like coercive control. Coercive control are all the things that an abuser will do prior to physical assault or along with physical assault. And that could be, being in control of all the finances. That could be being in control of all of the medications, the car. You're not allowed to go anywhere. You're not allowed to talk to this person on Tuesday or Wednesdays. It's about control. So I believe that we try to be cautious so that we don't have unintended consequences, because the laws are applied to all of us in the Commonwealth, not just specific individuals. That's why we don't have, at this point, laws against coercive control. And we don't have a domestic violence law. We have an assault law. We have harassment. We have all the things that are included in what you'll see in abuse, whether it's senior or domestic. But the coercive control and the bullying, I think they're slippery. And I think it's hard to grab a hold of it and find a way to construct legislation that will address it, that won't have an unintended consequence.
Kathy, if anyone is out there listening to this podcast and feels that they are vulnerable or in a situation they need help with, what would you say should be the next steps that they should take to get some help?
They should give a call to our center, the Women's Center of Montgomery County. We were formed by women, but we are here for everyone. Our hotline, which is 1-800-773-2424. That is manned 24 hours a day by people here in Montgomery County, members of the Women's Center of Montgomery County, or volunteers who work with us as well. And they're all, each one of us has gone through a tremendous amount of training to be able to take those calls. And if they want to call during a normal work day, they can always ask to speak to me as well, or one of our medical advocates. But definitely that call should go to our hotline, and we're always here to help.
And then I just have one more question before we close. And it's something I think that you're passionate about, which is research. So how might research contribute to our understanding of the prevalence and the dynamics of bullying among older adults, as well as the effectiveness of interventions?
Well, in the research for the bullying situations, the bullying project is what we call it. We found that I don't believe that it's a new problem, and I will call it a problem. I don't believe it's a new problem, but I do believe that with more senior communities being built, more people going to 55 and older communities, or assisted living, that it's become more of a prevalent issue. So in researching that, a lot of the articles that I'm reading are fairly new, only a few years old, where in other issues, I can find things, decades back. But I think research is only going to help make this a better situation for the people that are living it. 10 to 20% of seniors who live in these communities and who go to these senior centers are victims of bullying. The numbers are beginning to rise, and that number did come from AARP as well. And I think the more we research it, the more we talk about it, the more conversations that are being had, I think can only make the problem shine more light on the problem and to take it out of those shadows. We all have been through something of this type in our lives. Hopefully never to the degree that we see, but we know that bullying damages our youth, and we know that bullying damages our seniors.
Kathy, wow, what a conversation. And yes, I echo the importance of bringing this topic to light and hopefully dispelling some of the myths behind it. And for people that have been having these experiences, feel empowered to talk to someone and get the support and the help that they need. So I'm privileged to have had you on the podcast. And I also want to thank you for the work that you do as a medical advocate to help keep older adults safe.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And again, it's such an important topic, and it's an important segment of our community. Our seniors have earned our respect and our love and our comfort. They shouldn't be dealing with such terrible things. So thank you.
Thank you for listening to Honestly Aging by Friends Life Care VigR, a unique program focused on aging with vitality, independence, growth, and resilience. You can find links and show notes from this episode on our website at friendslifecare.org/podcast. Thank you to Kathy Rusch for joining us today. You can learn more about Kathy on LinkedIn and the Women's Center of Montgomery County on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, X, and by visiting their website, wcmontco.org. If you like our show, please rate, review, subscribe, and join us next time. To learn more about aging with vitality, independence, growth, and resilience, subscribe to our blog at friendslifecare.org/blog.